Hello students, I welcome you all to Current Affair Lectures by Azad ICS Academy. Today we are looking into the current affairs of 19th March. So let us see the first topic, and before we go to the topic, let us see the questions that we discussed yesterday. Okay. What technology addition was introduced in 2019 general election to enhance the reliability of electronic voting machines? And that was the VVPAT slips. Okay. That is voter verifiable paper audit trials that was introduced in 2019. This is the right answer for this particular question. And the next question that you have is, what measures did the Supreme Court direct regarding EVM machines in April 2024? And the answer for this is verification of 5% of the EVMs burnt memory by manufacturing engineers or manufacturer engineer. These are the questions that we discussed yesterday, and I hope you have got the answers for that today. And I hope you're actively participating in this as well. Now let us see the important topics for today. The first important topic that we have for today is Chandrayaan 3. Data says water ice easier to find on moon than believable. So they are saying that the amount of water and ice is easily, you can easily find it out. This is what they are trying to tell us. Okay. Now scientists using Chandrayaan data sorry. So yeah, scientists using Chandrayaan data 3 found large temperature variations on the moon surface, suggested that more areas may support stable water ice beneath the surface. So they are saying that there is a possibility of ice that is there. What we are expecting, more than that much amount of ice could be present in the beneath the surface of the sun is what they are expecting us. An instrument on board the Vikram lander has found that the temperature at the location was 82 degrees Celsius and just a meter away dipping at 58 degrees Celsius. If the temperature can vary so much at the meter scale, scientists can conclude that there must be more areas where conditions are suitable for water ice to be stabilized beneath the Earth's surface. So they are saying that there is a temperature where it was 82 degrees Celsius and just a meter away, like if this is 82 degrees Celsius and just after 1 meter, there is 58 degrees Celsius. Okay. So you can see that such kind of, this thing is there, the temperature difference is there on the earth, on the surface of the moon. Then they are expecting that there is a possibility of a water ice that could be there beneath the surface of the moon is what they're expecting. So now let us see what it is trying to say. So there are other countries also, such as US, China, and India are planning long-term moon missions. Water on the moon is essential for astronaut survival and can also be used as a fuel for space missions. So why, if we have water, it's not that the human beings are going to go and stay there. Point number one. But yes, if there is moon, it can help the, people, especially astronauts, and meet the drinking and sanitary needs for the astronauts. Scientists can also work using the moon water as a fuel launched from the natural satellites as well, right? So hence the recent studies have found out that ice water on the moon is more accessible than previously believed. So we had believed that this is going to be very difficult, but now the studies have understood, and by understanding the moon's thermal environment and ice distribution, what we have understood here is that it is very easy for us to, get this kind of ice water on the moon than we had expected. Okay. Now, temperature studies by Chandrayaan 3. So, what does it say? What is the data that we are getting from this particular Vikram lander? We'll see into that. The Chandrayaan surface thermophysical experiment. Okay, so there is this kind of what do you mean to say, equipment. So before that, look at this. The first step to understand how much water that is there on the moon is known as the temperature on the surface. You can know how much amount of water is there. Moon is to know the temperature of the surface. If you know the surface temperature of the moon, we can identify how much amount of water is present. Scientists also say needs these details if the astronauts are withstanding on the moon's national environments. Moon days are intensity hot while nights are frigid cold. So they say that the days on the moon are very hot and the nights are very, very cold. It lacks an atmosphere, and there is more threatened by deadly solar flares from the sun than the earth. So here what happens here is there are a lot of issues, like especially if you see the temperature is not that good, the temperature on the moon is not that good. If during the day it is intensively hot and during the night it is intensively cold, and there is no proper atmosphere on the moon. Apart from this, what we have to understand here is that there is a deadly solar flare that can come to the surface of the moon. See, when it is entering into the earth, we have atmosphere, and because of the particles that are present in the atmosphere, this flare's intensity would reduce. But that is not the same when it comes to the moon, because in the moon, what would happen here is this flare's intensity would be more. The new study marks a significant advance on this front. This is based on the ground level observations made by Chandrayaan 3, the Indian Space Research Organization mission whose Vikram lander touched the grounds of the moon on August 2023. Right, so this is what they're trying to say. Now, apart from this, we have to know that what is the important equipment that Chandrayaan 3 is using, that is use of sensors. What are these sensors that we are using? We'll discuss about that as well. So the first important thing that we need to know here is using Chandra's surface thermophysical experiment. That is, this is used onboarded on the Vikram lander. The researchers conducted an in situ, that is direct at a site experiment to measure the temperature at the top 10 centimeters of the lunar regolith at 69.373 degrees south and this much east. This is the latitude at which they have pointed it out, and this is called as Shiv Shakti point. Okay, on this Shiv Shakti point, they are going to conduct this experiment where Vikram lander, it is located on the moon's southern source. It is located on the moon's southern pole. So you have to understand the moon's southern pole is known as Shiv Shakti point, and on this particular point, which is at the latitude, this and longitude, I mean, this could be latitude, longitude, of course. So they are telling us at this latitude and this longitude, we have this particular experiment being conducted. So a probe with 10 highly accurate temperature sensors were used. The data was collected for about 10 Earth days from August 24 to September 2, 2023. So we have collected this particular data for 10 Earth days, okay, from 24th August to September 2nd, 2023. And since then, what we are trying to do is, which is about 8 hours of lunar day, and the diurnal lunar temperature values that were ranging the day and night were obtained using the 3D thermophysical model developed by PRL Prasad added. So these are some of the things that they have basically done. Right now, the temperature findings and implications. So what is the temperature finding? The team found that the peak temperature or on the site is supposed to be 82 degrees Celsius. So the peak temperature that they found is 82 degrees Celsius during the day. This is during the day. Okay. The in situ temperature profile itself was surprising because it recorded highest temperature than those were predicted by the drive instrument onboarded NASA's lunar reconnaissance orbiter. So there was one more instrument that was sent by NASA, and what we are expecting, this is 82 degrees Celsius during the day. This was not what they expected. They said that this temperature is higher than the data that was given by the NASA's LRO. The temperature was found to drop drastically to roughly minus 181 degrees Celsius at night. So you can see during the day it is 82 and here it is almost 99 degrees Celsius less. It is minus 181 degrees at night. It is exciting to know that the actual surface temperature at latitude, longitude or latitude location can go both high and low extremes, right? So this is what he said. So these are some of the important things. Now, there are some future implications also. What is it that we have to understand here is, see, look, the findings are going to help us in planning for the moon missions. So if we are getting all these findings, so they're going to help us in further moon missions, human settlement. Understanding human thermophysics will improve water ice mapping for future. The research support for a longer term goal for using moon as a base of deep space missions as well. Now let us understand a little bit of Chandrayaan 3 mission as well, because if you're studying this, see, it is a third lunar exploration. In the second time that Chandrayaan 2 Vikram lander had failed, but Chandrayaan 3 Vikram lander is successfully installed. Okay, this is conducted or developed by Indian Space Research Organization. Objective is to demonstrate soft landing, conduct in situ. In situ means direct experiments, okay, that they've already done. It was launched on July 14th, 2023 from Satish Dhawan Space Center, successfully loaded on the moon south pole on August 23, 2023. The key components that included were Vikram lander and Prayagan rover, but no orbiter. We did not have any orbiter. We had a lander and we had a rover. Okay. So we have detected sulfur and other elements on the moon surface, provided insights to ice water distribution on shaded lunar regions. And what you have to understand is significance is making India the first country to land on the moon's southern point, which is the Shiv Shakti point. Okay, and the fourth to achieve the soft lander after USA, Russia, and China. So USA, Russia, and China have done the soft landing. After that, we are fourth to do this kind of soft landing on this particular moon surface. So these are some of the important pointers that we need to understand from this particular topic. Now, next important thing is what are the factors that influence the women political participation? See, in yesterday's lecture, we had also already discussed that there was a lot of issues when it comes to elections, but we also have to understand that there are issues when it comes to women as well. While discussion on women participation often highlights the social and cultural bias that hinders the electoral success, less attention is given to how everyday women engage in the electoral process. So we are not aware that how women are getting engaged. So now let us see that in detail. Okay. So paradox of women political engagement. So we have to understand that how the women are getting indulged in the system of elections. Now, India has had influential women leaders, yet overall political participation of the women is low. I'm not saying that women are not at all there. There are some leaders who are very, influential people who are at a higher position. Like we have Madam Indira Gandhi, who was the prime minister for a long time. But that does not mean that all the women are participating. Even though we have a greater leaders at a higher position, but at the lower level, if you see the participation of women is being very, very low. Unlike other countries where the gender gap in political is narrowed in 1990s, in India saw the shift only in 2010. So we have to understand that in other countries, this gap that is there was narrowed in 1990s, but in India, it was only during 2010. Women voters have often treated as a single group, ignoring different caste, class, religion, and region. So we are not considering which women, which group they belong to, where they belong to, etc. So we are just considering them as just one set of women or one set of group. So rising voters turnout among the women also. The voters turnout among the women significantly increased in 2010, leading political parties to introduce women-focused welfare scheme as well. So we have to understand in 2010 onwards, we have seen that an amount of women who are coming to vote also have increased. And because of this, what is happening here is that the political parties are also coming up with such a kind of a scheme wherein women are going to be engaging more. Okay, however, these schemes often frame women as a passive beneficiaries rather than the active political participation. Anyways, it will be just like it is not going to have any proper active participation. It's just going to be, like a passive regression or passive participation, you can say. Despite higher turnout, women political power remains limited as their votes are often seen as influenced by welfare benefits rather than independent decision making. So we are not giving that much rights to women to make it as an independent decision. But yes, we are considering just as a, passive voting. Now, voting is just one form of political participation, involvement, rallies, etc. Women continue to lag behind men in deeper political engagement. Only 14% of the women report seeks advice from the spouse before voting. So you can see that only 14% of the women who report, only 14% would report to vote, okay, after seeking their husband's permission to vote. So still the independence is still more for men when you compare it with women. So impact of caste, class, region, voting, etc. Women voting choices are shaped based on region as well. In states with stronger regional parties, women preference align more to local political movements as well. Okay, so you can also see that women are supporting different political parties. One national party has historically received more support from the women than men, expected in 2014, then the voters base has declined. Another party has traditionally faced a gender disadvantage, but narrow gaps. So here you can also see, as mentioned earlier, it was only 2010 that was significant increase in the share of women who voted. All the political parties sought capitalize on this shift by introducing policies and schemes specifically targeting women. So I'll tell you some of the examples here. However, these policies often frame women as a passive beneficiaries rather than the political agent. Welfare scheme like Ujjwala, Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, where they are trying to construct houses and gifts, were prior told to Bharatiya Janata Party's victory in 2019 Lok Sabha elections. While these schemes like led Ladli Behan and Ladli Lakshmi were created by party succession in Madhya Pradesh. So here also in Karnataka, we have Graha Lakshmi, okay, where in every household, women will get 2,000 rupees in that particular house, right? So these kind of schemes are being introduced so that they are attracting the women. And you can see that women's have bus-free facilities. So such kind of schemes will be introduced. So this is something which is not correct, basically, right? So what are the takeaways that we need to have here, and what are the other things we have to understand? Deshpande is a person who's talking about this, is arguing that high vote turnout does not necessarily translate the real political power. For years, women are considering marginalized participants in politics, while efforts made to crave out non-political party constituents for them. Despite their growing presence in the polls and political parties, media continues to frame their votes and driven by welfare benefits. So analysis NSE data helps us assess whether the rise of women voters signals real political agency or mere surface level inclusion. So you have to understand it is just a mere surface level inclusion or whether it is this. We are not sure about this as well. While increasing turnout in the women for in 2024 Lok Sabha elections is not worthy or noteworthy, you can say, voting is not just only for the political participation. It's also about politics and it's also about rallies. And I already told you only 14% of the women report seeking advice from their spouse to voting decision, indicating growing agency, but remains significantly higher than men. So this suggests that despite increasing voting participation, deeper political engagement face social and cultural barriers again, right? So what are the takeaway? We need to understand that women voters turnout has increased, but their overall political engagement still remains lower than the men, which is actually not that correct. So we have to make sure that they are having their decisions and these decisions are taken independently rather than forced by some kind of welfare schemes, or it could be something else. Women voting behavior is influenced by multiple factors such as their caste, creed. All these things also have to be considered. No distinct women voting constituency has emerged as electoral choice remains shaped by broader socio-political factors. So we have to understand that there is a lot of socio-political factors, right? So hence we have to understand that we have to focus on what? We have to focus on not just making the number of women turning out higher, but we also have to focus on something which is how independently they are kind of, exercising their decision of voting, etc. Right? So these are the two important topics. See, yesterday we have discussed that there should be a proper arrangement or engagement between the political parties and the election commission so that all the issues that are there when it comes to elections, they are getting reduced. So similarly, we have to also understand that the women participation in elections is something very important. So we have to see the number of turnout of the women are also very, very less, or the time that it took for the women to come out to, vote also is much higher. In the other countries, it happened in 1990s, but in India, it is happening in 2014 itself. So you can understand the vulnerabilities that women are going across, right? So that's something needs to be addressed. Now let us see the important questions for today. Okay, what was the surface temperature recorded by Vikram lander at its landing site, Shiv Shakti Point? So I already told you Shiv Shakti Point is a point which is in the southernmost tip. So we had seen that there are two temperatures, but please check which is the correct temperature. This is one temperature and we'd also seen this temperature, but try to identify which is the correct one of this. Okay, which instrument on board the Vikram lander was used to measure the lunar surface temperature? Is it this or is it this? So we have seen, if you have listened to the lecture very carefully, then I think you will be easily able to identify which is that particular instrument. Put in your answers in the comment section. I'll see you guys in tomorrow's lecture with more amount of current affairs and questions. I will also find answers to these questions. Thank you so much. And if you guys support, we will also come up with some important other type of videos such as polity videos as well as geography videos, wherein we will be able to cover map pointing in a very systematic manner, in a very traditional method. So please put in your comments and put in your suggestions so that we can come up with more initiatives. Thank you so much for your patience.